Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm back out here in my my old spot. It's just too dadgum hot to be out in the garage or in the shop. So hot and muggy. We had rain yet again today. Just crazy. We've had it rain at least for a little while every single day for the past, I don't know, I've lost count, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. It's crazy. Anyhow, welcome everybody. We've got, looks like we're gathering a pretty good crowd here. I see over in the chat, we've got Sean Martyr, Leo Steger, Frankie CNC and Woodworking Channel, Hobbies Woodshop, Ryan Ballard, Jim Sinicola, Harnell Media, Steve, I should say, Landis Stooge, Troy Pritchard, Jeff Connor, David Mitchell, Lynn Cabrera, Grant Clark. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I don't really have any specific topic. I just figured we'd do kind of a general Q&A like we normally end up doing, because even when we have a topic, we usually get off topic, anyway, so doesn't really matter. So anyway, anything, hey, Ox in the Shop, how you doing? Mr. Big Wheel. That thing is awesome. You see that video that Ox did, Hobby?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Is that thing cool or what?
Yeah, it is cool. I've been wanting to build one of those myself.
I think you need to do a part 2 video, Drew, and put some kind of motor on that thing. Do like Peter Pasquale bought one of those electric motors that he put on that bike. You should put something like that on that thing. That was just too cool watching him go down that hill in that thing. Jason Osby, how you doing, Jason? David Stewart, Richard Kowalski, Becca Miller, how you doing, Becca? Jerry Bonifield, everything. A lot of good folks out there. Oh, and by the way, Steve, I apologize I haven't got your kit to you yet. I've been kind of slacking this week. And now when I got ready to cut it, I'm having some issues, not with my machine, but with my spindle. So, or either my spindle or my VFD. I didn't even check it out. It was so hot out there today, I didn't even go try to see. But I'll either swap the spindle, because I do have a spare, or if that doesn't do it, I'll just pull out one of my routers or cut it on another machine. I got, 2 others I can cut it on.
Steve is anxious, but he's not in the immediate hurry. He has been pricing out all week, all the different parts and all the fun preliminary stuff. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, well, he mentioned something, I think, on Facebook about making room for it. So I thought, well, I guess I don't really have to be in a big hurry to get it to him if he's got to figure. Yeah, he says he's still building a room to put it in. So there you go. So, but I'll get it to you within the next week anyway. Like I said, if I have to, I'll get out my router and throw it on there and cut it if I don't figure out what's going on with the spindle. But all right, I see everybody saying hello. Carl Whitaker's in the house. Hey, Carl, how you doing? Carl's my old buddy from Danville High School. Went to high school together way back in the day. Yep. Dale Ludlam, Eric from Gussie Banjos, how you doing? Georgia Bubba, that's my buddy Ed White down there in Warner Robins. I see we got Juan Lopez.
See what Ox said is he doesn't want to use a motor to pedal it. He needs to pedal if you've seen him.
Yeah, well, you notice we only saw video of him going down the hill. We didn't see him coming back up the hill. I'm wondering if he had Mama down there with the car or truck to throw it on there and bring him back up the hill. Edit out that part. But yeah, that was a great video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Drew Oxford, Ox in the Shop. It was, I guess,
a plywood big wheel.
Where you make whatever you can out of one sheet of plywood.
Yep.
And he made a awesome big wheel, you know, the old time, like the kids used to ride with the two little wheels in the back and the
from Mattel.
Right. he says it won't go uphill. It weighs like 80 pounds. That's funny.
Well, sheet of plywood.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, what does anybody want to talk about tonight? Anybody got any? Like I said, I don't have anything specific to talk about. Jim Sinicola says, you know, you're old when your 50th high school reunion is happening this year. Yeah, I had, I'm trying to think how many I've had. I think I got my 45th will be coming up next year. They have one there. They have one every 5 years, so it'll be coming up next year. And he said it was his dad in the car, wife was at home with the kids. Yeah. Cool. All righty. Put over there in the chat any questions you got, anything you want to talk about. I guess y'all have seen my review video of my 3D printer, the first one I got.
Sounds like Jack Thirsty over there.
That's that. Yeah, that's Rocky.
That's Rocky.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you could hear him because Jack makes a whole lot more noise than Rocky does. Jack sticks his whole nose. For some reason, he sticks his whole nose in there and licks off the bottom of the bowl. No matter, you might have that much water in it, and he just slops it everywhere. It's like it's ridiculous how much water he spills out of there. Let's see. Juan says, what all types of problems go bad with the spindle? Well, I don't know. I had an issue. I guess I'll talk about that real quick. I had an issue. I don't even know how long ago it was. A couple of months, maybe longer. And it was lucky for me. I was out, just happened to be out there to check on stuff when it did it. But I was out there, and all of a sudden, it's just like somebody flipped the switch and turned the spindle off. And I heard it slowing down, you know, and it's still cutting through plywood. So I ran over there and stopped it, raised it up, and you know, turned it back on. And I kept getting this error that would show up on the VFD that would say, it would say OCA, which according to the book means that it's overcurrent for amps. And what I did is I was running it pretty high. I think probably 19 or 21,000 RPM at the time. And I found that as long as I slowed it down and didn't, you know, of course, I'd have to shut it off and then turn it back on to get that air to clear out of the VFD. And then I found that as long as I didn't turn it up that high, it wouldn't air out. So that was kind of a Band-Aid solution. And I've been running it like that. And I've actually been running it about, well, less than 15,000 all the time, more like around 12,000 RPM. And it's been running fine. Well, the other day I was out there running some stuff. I was cutting some HDPE, making some of those wedgie template things that I sell. And I had failed to, you know, I tell you, I hadn't put that little flow meter thing that Javi gave me. I hadn't put it on there yet. So my temperature gauge is my hand, where I just reach up and feel the spindle. Well, when it finished that tool path, I reached up there and felt it, and it wasn't super hot, but I thought, whoa, that's hotter than or warmer than it usually gets, because usually it's not warm much at all. So I thought, well, let me go check my pump and see if I'm getting any flow through there. And I went and looked, and I wasn't getting but just a drop or two out of that. So I thought, okay, it must be the water's looking kind of gunky. I need to clean it out and blow out the lines and stuff like that. So I thought, well, now'd be a good time to put that flow meter on there. So I didn't have my compressor. It was around back to my shop, and I didn't feel like going to get it. But I did have an old hand bicycle pump. So I thought, well, I can put that on there and push that down and shove a bunch of air through there. And that worked well. I got the lines unclogged. And then I took the lines off of the spindle and kind of put it on one and tried to push out that way. And then I put it on the other one and push out the other way. And I was getting some, you get a little bit of water. And then after that, it's, just air coming out of there once you pretty much get all the water blown out. So I hooked it all back up and turned it on, and the flow meter worked great. It was spinning. I even took a little video of it, sent it to Hobby to show him that I'd finally got around to putting that on. And then,
what was my first comment? And I'm sorry I didn't congratulate you.
Oh, well, yeah, you made a comment about how many bubbles, but it's because I had just turned it on. It hadn't really had time
to cycle
through to get all the bubbles out. I wanted to catch it while it was spinning in case it quit. Yeah. But anyway, right after that, then I go to turn it on, and as soon as I turn on the spindle, of course, I'm using that remote that Hobby made for me. I get that same air. So I thought, okay, well, I remember the last time it would do that if you were too high. So I would turn the potentiometer all the way down, turn it on, and of course it doesn't even run it when it's all the way down. It stopped. And then as soon as I would go to turn that, I would get that air again. So I think it was yesterday, I thought, well, let me see if it's something to do with the potentiometer or the remote. Maybe there's something screwed up with that. I don't know. So I went and I changed the parameters on the VFD to go back to using the control that's built right into the VFD, and it did the same thing. As soon as I would try to turn it up, it would get that air. So I don't know whether there's an error in the VFD. I don't know if there's something going on with the spindle. Like I said, I've got a spare spindle. In fact, I've got a spare VFD because when I had trouble before, I just went and bought a whole nother kit to have as a backup. Because if you're using, that's one thing y'all should think about. If you're using some of this stuff, whether it be maybe you're using a Porter cable router or whatever, but if you're using it to make money, probably a good idea to have it on the shelf ready to go in case it happens when Home Depot or Lowe's is closed or something and you can't get there. So anyway, but I haven't swapped the spindle out. I'll carry the other one out there and hook it up and try it and see if it runs. And if it does, then I'll know that there was maybe something screwed up with the spindle. And if it doesn't, then I know it's probably the VFD. But anyway, haven't got around to doing that yet. But Jeff Connor's in the house tonight. Jeff, I've already started filling up some more boxes of that HDPE. He came and picked up my scrap HDPE the other day, and I don't know if he's.
That's cool. Hey, Jeff, I missed you last week on Dave's and on my show. Guess which shirt I was wearing. If you want to know the answer to that, go watch Dave and my show from last week. Yeah.
Mark Lindsay's in there. He says I have a 690, which is a Porter cable, waiting in the wings in case my 890 needs brushes or something. And yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to have some spare brushes too. But when you're, like I said, if you're using it to make money, it's, whether you have a spare set of brushes or not, it's easier just to throw another router in there, loosen it up, pop another one in, plug it in, and go. You back to the races. So,
yeah.
Charlotte says, or Harbor Freight is closed. Yeah, I guess some people may use those Harbor Freight routers.
Yeah.
Neil Chat
for the short term.
Yeah. Neil Shapto says he's getting delivery on an Ender 3 printer from BC, as a British Columbia, I'm assuming. Tuesday. Good for you, Neil. Let me know how you like it. I'll be, I did the review video. Let's see. I guess I released that this morning, I think. And I'll be doing another one for the Ender 3 that GearBest sent me in the next few days. I'm just trying to get a few more hours on the thing. I tell you what, the thing just runs like a top, though. I was in a hangout with Javi earlier this morning, and I had a print running on that Ender 3. I started at about, I think about 9:45 this morning, and it's going to be about a 12-hour print. It's still running, but it hadn't missed a beat. It's just, I just walk back there and look at it every once in a while, and still doing it. So let's see. Jeff Connor says, I was on the big screen last week, no chat. Oh, so he was watching maybe.
Oh, okay, good.
I know. I noticed that too when I use the YouTube app that's built into my big screen here. It doesn't show the chat. So usually what I do is every time I watch somebody's show, you're actually getting 2 views, because I'm on it, one on the TV, and then I use my phone. So for sure I'm counted as a second viewer. So I can check the chat, and unless I'm not going to do the chat. Sometimes I just watch and don't do the chat. Kenneth Hall. So glad that I went to the VFD and Spindle. Yeah, I've loved mine. I just like it a whole lot better when it works. I've had a few issues with mine, but nothing too great. Ron Cleveland's in the house. Ron, what kind of 3D printer should I buy next? I'm gonna have to figure out a bigger table. I've got that little bitty table back there, and I've got both those 3D printers.
Yeah, Ron, I asked Dave this morning. I go, okay, you got 2 down. How many more are you gonna get?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to either build something or buy something that's bigger.
Oh, did you freeze, Dave? Unless it's me, Dave may have just frozen for the moment. So, well, good evening, all. Welcome to CNC with Dave, with Javi. Until he gets back on the air, I guess I'll muddle on through. Could you guys hear me by any chance? Yep, just let's see here. It's not me. Okay. Well, it's a good likeness of Dave there, where he froze. Hopefully he'll start up his computer soon. Are there any questions for Dave, so I can rack them all up here? And in the meantime, I might as well advertise my show in the evening. Got something to talk about here till Dave gets back. Tonight, after Dave's show, I will be CNC Talk with Javi is going to be, I'm going to import an STL file that I found of a vortex generator. For those of you that don't know what a vortex generator is, and I'll explain it again during the show, it's, I think Dave is coming back, possibly. A vortex generator is an airfoil, if you will, which will break up or turn the tail end of, those trucks where they get a big suction behind, actually my RV. Well, you get a bunch of these little vortex generators, and they will turn the straight wind into little vortexes. And in a sense, it should help on gas mileage. It should help on the RV not veering one way or another, a truck not pulling it, and for trucks as well. But, not everybody wants to put these ugly things on the tail end of their trucks. So that's what we'll be working on today, and whatever other questions you guys have. Let me see if I can contact Dave and find out what's going on. Asking him when he'll be back, unless he's lost his internet entirely, but we'll give him a bunch of minutes. That's a good line. Good line, Mark. Well, I guess we're waiting for Dave. In the meantime, we'll be live until yep, his computer's rebooting. So bear with him. And let's see, what else can we talk about? There's Arnold. I'll be back. Dave is still talking to us. We just don't know it yet. Well, folks, what 3D questions do you have for Dave, or CNC questions in general? Ox, I heard you were asking earlier if a spindle can work on a GarageWorks. It's not designed for it, but many people, or a few people, have done it. That's the short answer. So, yeah, it can handle it. But keep in mind, don't push it, because you're looking at a machine that was meant to compete against or the X-Carves and the Shapokos and all the shall we say non-sturdy hobby machines, if you want to look at it that way. Spindles are heavy. Yeah, spindles are approximately, I think it was 17 pounds. Mine was loaded with water. And let's see. Well, Keith, he had his last week was his latest update on the Go CNC. He did receive the front plate for it at last. Is a 1.5 kilowatt enough, Ryan? It depends. Let's put it this way: the stronger the stepper motors, the faster the more power the router has, the bigger the bit you can use, and the faster you can go. But there are limits even to the big CNC machines. Even a huge mill can't go at lightning speeds, because the wood itself, unless you're talking MDF, the wood itself will splinter at certain speeds, no matter how fast the bit is. But when you're taking small nibbles, I mean, it's like the difference between we'll take a Tormach and a I don't know the name of an X-Carve, or some homemade machine with a Dremel tool. They can both end up with the same result, but one's going to take a lot longer. And that's the short of it. And Dave, I guess, is well, no, he's got the Hangout link, obviously, so I don't have to worry about that. And go, hey, let me send Dave the link. Let's see. Yeah, and then like Jeff said, you can convert watts to horsepower. I mean, the easy way is Google those wattage calculators. Some of those, I'm usually against Googling. Say, hey, thank God, Dave, you're back.
Yeah, I tell you what, I just absolutely love Windows.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what the deal is. I was saying something, and the next thing I know, I look down and I see the blue screen that says your PC needs to restart. And
the important thing,
it wasn't asking me could it restart. It just says we're restarting.
Yeah. The important thing is you froze in a very distinguished position.
Oh, I didn't have one of those stupid papers.
Exactly.
I love it when it does that, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what the deal is with stupid Windows. I had the Windows. Well, I think I don't know if it's updated on these yet or not, but I kept putting it off on my desktop, and finally I went in there and I thought, okay, you know, it's going to keep bugging me till I say yeah.
Okay. Or is that another freeze, Dave?
I said yes.
Oh, thank goodness.
Am I back?
No, yeah, you're back.
Okay. I looked at here. I'm talking again. I look. Okay, here we go again. I'm froze up. So, yeah, this PC. I don't know. It's probably because all the dust. Because this is the one I take out in the shop a lot, and it's always got a lot of dust on it. So, of course, the other one does too. So, but yeah, I hope this thing doesn't just try to do some stupid updates or something. Let me see what's. Make sure there's not a.
Don't worry, I'll be here to screen share all your frozen pictures just in case.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. All right, what did I miss? I could still see. I knew it. Somebody said something about my crappy internet. It's not my internet because the other computer where I got to chat, you know, it's still rolling on. So it's just
not much. They were. I was answering a question of Drew's that you answer every week, which is if the GarageWorks can handle a spindle. And other than that, they were all talking about different spindles and different levels of spindles.
Yeah, that's pretty much the weekly question. Somebody always asks me that, and I've said it a million times. There are people that have them, on there, but I didn't design it for that. So you're on your own if you want to put one of them big old heavy spindles on there. Any other? I guess we still haven't come up with a topic. We got talking about.
Well, let's see. Earlier, you were talking about. Why don't you show them the? Well, I don't know if you have it within earshot. The little standoffs you made for the.
I could run and get it real quick.
Yeah.
I did see somebody ask about an update on the Go CNC.
Yeah.
The only update I can tell you is I did get the missing front plate. I still haven't put it on yet, obviously, but I have. Let me just see if I can pull this off real quick and give you a shot. I have the Go CNC sitting right here. I decided that since I'm doing a lot of, let's see if that thing's going to fall off of there. Since I'm doing a lot of 3D printing these days, which I was telling Hobby, I really like it because you can do that in the house where it's nice and cool. And it doesn't get, it's not messy. It's not messy like a router too. But since I'm doing that, I figured I might as well bring the Go CNC in here, finish putting that plate on. I've got the laptop over there that I got from my buddy Michael Chipser. A little plug for Michael. And I'll be, but I still don't have, anything to, spindle or a router. But until they send me one, I guess I can still play around and dry run because I've really got three different, well, really a bunch of different ways. I'm going to say 3 or 4 different ways to run it. I don't know if I've showed this before, I guess if you watch the video, but they have this thing called, if you can see it.
CNC Audio USB?
CNC, it's called CNC Studio USB.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, your USB goes from your computer to here, and then a parallel cable, which they supplied out. And then there's a parallel port on the back of the little box. So the little box that mounts on the back of the machine, that's where the driver board and all that is. Similar to a Xylotex, whereas there's 3 drivers and they're all on the same boards. Really, really a compact little outfit. So I've got this to use with their software that's also called CNC Studio USB. Then they sent me this thing, which is called Go CNC G-Code Processor 3D. I can get that, get it where you can see it. And see, it's like, it says Gerbil and Arduino open source hardware for CNC. It'll work with Windows, Linux, or a Mac. So,
what's on the other side of that parallel port?
The USB thing,
gotcha.
like what was on that other one. Huh. And then there's also a little power thing there. Yeah. So I've got that, and then you can also run this with, of course, Mach 3 and UC CNC and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to figure out all of those, and I figure, well, since I'm waiting on the router or a spindle anyway, I might as well teach myself how to, because the documentation is, you know, there's some videos they have on there but it's always somebody doing it in German.
Hey, Dave, I got a question for the show, and okay. I'll ask this on behalf of Steve Nealon. We're always looking for, the CNC creators, DIYers are looking for an inexpensive version of a controller, something like the a Xylotech setup, but on the cheap, as it were. Anything you've come across that a CNC controller on a shoestring budget, if you will?
Well, kind of, sort of. You know, I still think the Xylotech kit is pretty good bang for the buck. I haven't done anything with that newest one. You know, the newest one, I've showed it on the show before. It doesn't have an enclosure. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'll come up with some kind of enclosure that I can 3D print, since I've got 3D printers now. Maybe come up with something to do that. Also,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. David Mitchell said his wife loves the wall behind you. Is it reclaimed gym floor?
No, no, it's not. It's not gym floor. It's really high quality Lowe's 2x4s. That's what that is. And if David, if you really want to see it, if your wife wants to see it, you'll have to go to, well, you're already here at my YouTube channel, but I did a video on this and explained how I did all this and everything. It's I can't even remember what I called it, but it's really a very inexpensive way to do a wall like this, but it's pretty labor intensive, or at least it was for me. I didn't have a good resaw blade for my bandsaw, so I cut all this stuff with a table saw. But I won't talk about that. Just, yeah, go check out the video. It's going to be, I did it back in,
I got it. I'm going to put it up on the
yeah, if you can find the link.
I got the link here.
I think it's like 2015, I think, when I did it. So, you know, I didn't realize it until I was sitting here flipping through YouTube videos, and I went to my channel, you know, watching it on the TV, and I've got like 325 videos.
September 5th, 2015.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, getting back to the controller thing, let me just grab it since I'm right here, and I'll grab the other thing too. I'll talk for just a second.
You know me, Dave. I can never talk for just a second. But yeah, I've been looking around myself, because I'd like to get something a little bit. I always have the option of taking my Xylotech from one CNC to another, but I plan on seeing how I can economize building my CNC lathe in the near future, and I'd like to put a controller on it, even if I have to start experimenting with Raspberry Pi and that stuff.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I went to get this. I haven't even done anything with it yet, but I feel like I'm kind of behind. I've let a lot of different technologies kind of pass me by, just because I, just didn't keep up, I guess.
Yeah.
But I bought this kit off of Amazon. I want to say it was $69, I think. But it's a Raspberry Pi kit. It's got and I think Ryan Ballard, I think he's a Raspberry Pi guy. But you get the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. You get, well, actually, I've already put all this together. I think I did pull it out long enough to put it together. But you get this little case that comes with it. I already got the board put in there. You get, what is this? I think that's, I think maybe that's an SD card in here. Some of this stuff I haven't even up. Yeah, it's an SD card. What else is in this kit? See, you can see I haven't even opened it. I opened it up and looked at the board, put it inside that case, and that's as far as I've got it. Okay, this is cables, I guess. Okay, what is that? Okay, yeah, there's some heat sinks, a couple of little heat sinks that you can attach to that board, and then here's that's a HDMI cable, looks like, so you can connect it, and this is the power supply. Well, pretty neat little kit, and like I said, I have never played around with the only time I've messed around with an Arduino was the short time that I had that X-Carve, and it was already set up, so all I did was just run it. I didn't really do anything. But anyway, I'm gonna start playing around with these things and find it, because these things are really cheap. So that might be a possible solution. Now, where did Ryan Ballard go? He says my Raspberry Pi has external drivers and costs more, but on a shoestring you can do that with onboard drivers. Okay. All right. So, all right, we got somebody being ugly over there.
Nah, it's just a word slipped.
I'm the only one that's allowed to cuss on this show. So.
What's that?
I said I'm the only one that's allowed to cuss on that show.
There you go. There you go.
And you probably didn't hear it because it was when my computer crashed a while ago. Arduino and Gerber. Yeah. So anyway, there's some other options, and like I said, I'm way behind on that kind of stuff, and I'm trying to catch up, basically. Just like I was behind on the 3D printer. I feel like everybody and their brother's got a 3D printer, and I'm just now catching up. But back to, you asked me about something about this, right? What was it you were saying?
Yep, the standoff. I thought that was pretty interesting. The story that you shared this morning. Oh yeah, this is some of you guys that are into quadcopters or drones or something might recognize this. This is some parts that I got off of Thingiverse, and then of course I found the guy's YouTube channel that designed this and put it on Thingiverse. And this is just, simple 3D printed parts. And the cool thing about making them out of this is if you crash and break something, you just turn around, 3D print something else. But I was talking to Javi earlier this morning, and these little standoffs, you can buy these. In fact, the different guys that I see have them on there, they have a link where you can go buy them from Amazon or eBay or somewhere, but they're 3mm by 40mm, just a nylon standoff. And I looked on McMaster Car, and McMaster Car, sometimes they're pretty proud of their stuff.
They were like $3.97 a piece, and this thing has six of them. So I thought, well, you know, maybe they break or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and put my own on here. So I started making my own, and I had to play at my cameras. I guess it's because I'm moving this thing in front of the camera, it's focusing. But I had to play around with it a little bit to get the hole size just right, because when you look up what size hole for a M3 and then you put that in there, well, once you're doing it in this PLA, you know, it's hot when it comes out of there, so everything kind of draws up a little bit, shrinks. So I had to, it took me a couple to get the hole size just right. Well, then I started printing them, and then I noticed that when I was putting them in here, and they started off as just round, just like a, because that's the way the nylon ones were, they were just round. So it didn't take me long to figure out that as you're turning, you know, tightening these screws and trying to put them in there, it's hard to hold that round one to get that screw in there. So I went and redesigned them, or actually I just redrew a whole new one in my 3D software, and I made it a hex shape where I can now use the little 8mm wrench that came with my 3D printer. You know, they give you a little cheap set of tools and stuff. And that way I can, if it starts where I need to hold it, I can put that wrench on there and get it tight. So this is, you know, I was just basically looking around on Thingiverse for something to print, something, you know, something halfway useful. And I stumbled across this, and I thought, yeah, I'd like to have a little drone. So the guy that uploaded this to Thingiverse, and I think, by the way, I think I put that Thingiverse link in the show description. If you see one in there, that's what it's to, this quadcopter frame or parts. But he has a video, or somebody on there has a video. This is called a Peon, P-E-O-N, Peon 230 is what he called it. And there's videos, several videos on YouTube, and they say you can build one of these things for less than $150. So I figured, what the heck, I'm trying to get this hang of all this 3D printing and stuff. And these things fit. I mean, you can see they all the holes lined up and everything fit good, or at least what I got so far. Of course, I haven't put any of the other motors or any of that stuff on there, but yeah.
Does that design include a camera mount, or you got to add that on extra?
Well, yeah, they have a little, I didn't bring it with me, but there's another little piece that mounts on here, and there's some other pieces you can get on Thingiverse for specific cameras, you know, like a GoPro and different ones. But yeah, they put the, you know, some of these, they'll put two cameras on. They'll have one camera to film the aerial photography, just to make a cool video, and then the other camera is what they call a
for the view, for the 3D view, for the virtual, for the VR glasses.
Yeah, they call it FPV, which I think stands for first person viewing.
Yep, first person viewing.
And the way these things work is, you know, again, I'm behind on all this stuff. I know what a drone is, but I never really paid much attention until I started watching these videos. But I guess when it's getting ready to take off, it kind of you know, you mount the other camera in there. A lot of them tilted up a little bit, because I guess when you're going forward, it kind of does that to move. It kind of tilts forward like that, or leans forward. So anyway, this will be, maybe one day you'll see some aerial footage from I'll probably get hung in a tree, because I got a ton of big tall trees back there.
See, there's a good idea from Mark Lindsay, 3D print gimbal mount for the camera, for your camera.
Yeah, well, this particular design doesn't have a, you know, this is how it sets, just like
well,
that.
I'm actually thinking a gimbal mount, just for a handheld gimbal mount for when you film stuff, in case you need to walk around. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, somebody had asked me I think in the comment of one of the videos, what I was planning on doing with the 2040 and the 4040, you know, the stuff that looks like aluminum extrusion, but I ran it on the 3D printer. And that's kind of what I thought of doing, is making long enough pieces where you could make a, you know, something you could put like in my shop, and have it where you can mount a camera and you can slide it, you know, at either end, and you know, that kind of stuff. You could have all kinds of combinations. Ryan Ballard says, "I'm going to 3D print a Windows computer." If I could 3D print a computer, I probably wouldn't put Windows on it, at least not Windows 10. I'm an old Windows 7 guy. I mean, that was the best operating system ever. Windows 7. I love that one.
Well, I'm still a fan of XP, but
XP was pretty good too.
Yeah.
In fact, every time on all my computers, all the laptops I have, it doesn't matter whether they're running Windows 10 or 8 or any of those new ones, I always run the classic shell menu thing so that it looks like the old Windows 7. I just don't like the new way of doing it. So,
yeah, that's one thing that I got to say that happens a lot in today's day and age. I mean, being, I guess, the over 50 crowd is, you know, I never understood my parents, why they complained all the time, and they could never, I don't want to say learn new things, but I've been around a lot of people recently who have difficulty, and myself included to a certain degree, have difficulty, like you said, when you have a new operating system, you tend to convert it, or rather put the old face on it, just so you're familiar with it. But it's funny, more and more in recent years, the software and the programs change much faster, including all the websites that are redesigned, whether it's eBay, Amazon, or they're all constantly changing their look to keep up with the times, and it's happening at an incredible pace. And it's a hard balance, because on the one side you have the future and progress, on the other side you have your comfort level, and you got to sacrifice one to get the other.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that's always bugged me about particularly software packages, and I'll speak about one, you know, specifically, but back when I was working at the sheet metal shops, you know, every year, you know, they always had several seats of SolidWorks, and every year they would get the new, you know, latest, greatest version, and you would update and stuff. And it always bugged me when they would change stuff just for the sake of changing it. You know, in other words, it would do the same thing, but they make the button look different, you know, give it a different look or something. Yeah. And what really got me is, I think it was in, let's see if I can remember. I think it was 2015 SolidWorks. I believe it was, I think it was 15. They went to they've always had their menus, you know, the icons are real colorful, and it's easy to, it's not drab at all like AutoCAD and Fusion 360. That stuff, I can't stand that gray drab color. But anyway, SolidWorks always had, you know, icons where you could instantly look at one, and after you've been using it a while, you know what it is. And all of a sudden in 2015, I'll never forget, we got the update, and we updated it, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell's going on with these icons? And what they had done is, in their infinite wisdom, they had decided to change the icons to help the people that are colorblind. And that's all well and good, but if you Google search how many people are colorblind, it's only about 10% of the population. And I'm thinking, so they change it for, you know, that small group of people, and then make everybody else go crazy. And I wasn't alone, because when you go to the forums and stuff, people would be griping left and right. And of course, once you load it, there was no way to.
Yeah, and there's no reason they couldn't just adapt the colored ones with a different shape.
Yeah,
where, you know, where it would kill two birds with one stone.
You know, they may have got enough complaints that they changed it back. I don't know, because I haven't seen a version after 15. But Yeah, if they just had a switch where you say, "Oh, I'm colorblind, make it like this," or "I'm not colorblind, make it like this," that would have been great. But just to throw it on you, and it drove me nuts because then all of a sudden I went from being super fast at drawing in SolidWorks to almost like, okay, what's that damn button look like now, and having to go around and I hated it. But yeah, I didn't like that. But I've seen other things do that. Like I said, if they're changing something to really improve it, like add a feature or something like that, but just to change an interface just to make it look different so you think you're getting something new, I don't like that. I'd rather them just, that's why I say as soon as I get, whatever the latest, greatest Windows is, like when Windows 8, I did it. And again, when Windows 10 come out, I would always download that shell and make, so my thing looks, if you look, you think I'm running Windows 7 or something. It's all the older style. I don't like all that other stuff. And I guess I could get used to it if there wasn't a way to make it go back the other way.
Right.
But I just, when you get good at doing something on a computer, you don't want to have to slow, productivity down just to relearn something that's just because they changed it for the sake of changing. So
exactly.
All right, that's my rant for the night.
Let's see.
Any questions? We haven't had hardly any questions other than the one about the Go CNC and I didn't bring my Hobby and I was talking this morning. I'll talk about this a little bit. If I got any questions, they can 4.5. Somebody done Googled it.
Yeah, 4.5%.
Yeah, I knew it was. I couldn't remember. I was just thinking it was 10 or less.
And like I said, there's no reason you have to take away color for colorblind people. Change texture. I mean, what's the point of I mean, if they can't see color, that's fine. Change the texture and keep the color. I mean, it's like the difference. Well, you can't see the difference between a red light and a green light. Well, then make the green light with stripes going vertical and the red light with stripes going horizontal. And then there you are.
Masso CNC controllers. That must be my buddy Jad out there. He says, I know, Dave, even I'm under pressure with Masso GUI changes. So hard to find a balance. All you got to do is make it the way I like it, Matt. Get a dadgum touchscreen. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, and some of it actually has to do with, I mean, my 2 cents is when you're starting on a product and you want to get it popular, then that's when you shouldn't change. I mean, that's you should always add features, but stick with, I mean, really research and work on the design, because if you're constantly changing when it's new, people are going to instantly turn away from it. Whereas if you keep it the same and people get used to it and comfortable with it, and all you're doing is adding features, when enough people go onto it, now they have to ride with the tide when you do change it. But not until that tipping point should you ever, do a major change in design.
I don't know if there's any people out there that use SolidWorks at work that that have the most recent thing. I don't know where they might have got enough complaints they changed it or added it as an option or what. Like I said, I quit working for that company shortly after that, so I didn't. I don't know what SolidWorks is doing now, and I don't care. But now getting back to like I said, Javi and I were talking this morning. And I didn't bring it out here, but you see all these little screws, and there's even some little lock nuts and stuff under here. Well, when I got ready to, I started printing out these parts, and I thought, well, I don't have any hardware because metric hardware and stuff. So I get to a good old McMaster and ordered some M3 by 10 and M3 by 12 and those little M3 nylon nuts and stuff. And I was telling Hobby as I was opening the little packets up and putting the stuff out on my desk, I'm like, I'm gonna mess around and knock this stuff off and get it all mixed up and stuff. I need some kind of a little compartment type tray to put this stuff in. So what do? I fire up the modeling software. I model a little simple. It's like a 4-inch by 4-inch tray with some dividers in it. Throw it on the 3D printer, and a little while later, I've got myself a little thing. And I was telling Hobby how cool that is to be able to think of something like, man, I need, and it might be something simple, some little catch or something, whatever. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I got a 3D printer. If I can think it and draw it, I can make it. And that's really cool. And that's one reason why I wanted to get into 3D printing, is because now that I'm not retired, I'm still working, but I'm not doing the same kind of things that I was doing before when I worked for a company. And I kind of miss, because that's what I did all day. I sat in front of the computer and I drew parts. I did design, sometimes reverse engineering, whatever. But I was 3D modeling assemblies all day, every day. And, I did kind of miss not doing that. I mean, I did did that for the Gatton CNC, and I've done it for the Garage Works and stuff like that. But other than that, when you're doing like a woodworking project, it's not a whole lot of stuff to draw, really. I mean, at least not the kind of stuff I make.
The most insidious part about 3D is, as we were talking about it, a thought occurred to me, and I shared it with you about, you were talking about little screws and the difference in sizes, and I go, why don't you add a little screw gauge, for the different sizes on there? But it didn't stop. It just didn't stop there. We had to. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, way past the practical point, down into the ridiculous time wasting mode. And I decided, well, Dave should make a very tall hexagonal, instead of a short tray, no, a tall hexagonal one. And he can CNC a top with a rotating thing, kind of like a salt shaker. He could dial into which screw he needs and just shake out the screws, and there you go.
Yeah. Well, and I'd also thought of maybe putting some kind of little feed on the bottom of them or something so that they stack,
Yeah.
I mean, but it's cool to be able to just think of something and then go, oh, yeah, I can make that now. I don't have to run to some, dollar store and buy a Harbor Freight or whatever. I can just make it. And, and I'm going to be running the 3D printers anyway. So Ron Cleveland says, most of the useful things I make are useful for me, but boring. Yeah. Well, it was pretty boring watching that thing. But once I got it done, I'm like, yeah, now they're all organized. I got the little screws and stuff in there. So, of course, now I was telling Hobby, I should have made a lid for it, because now if I knock it off, I dump everything, not just one bag of them. But yeah, it's fun to design. That's what I like. I see some guys and Ron and any of you other guys that have 3D printers can chime in. One thing I think is kind of weird is I see a lot of guys on, not all, but a lot of them that are doing YouTube videos about 3D printing, but they don't know how to model anything. Their whole video is, well, I printed this today. I got it off Thingiverse. And then next week it's, well, I printed this today. I got it off a thing, And one guy was doing a live stream, and I asked him, I said, do you sell any of your stuff, or what do you do with the stuff you print? And he says, no, he doesn't sell it because he doesn't design it all. He doesn't know how to do 3D modeling. And I'm like, man, if you got a 3D printer, you need to be learning something, because that's what really makes them cool.
Yep.
That's what really makes them cool, I think, is being able to think of something and be able to draw it up. And you can use that ViCAD. You don't have to have, that's what I think, $150 software or something. You don't have to have any, real expensive software. Just get you a good cheap 3D modeling thing, whether maybe SketchUp. You know, you can do it in SketchUp.
Does SketchUp output in STL format?
I believe it does. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it does. Steve Good in the house. How you doing, Steve? Good to I make good money from my 3D printer in the scroll saw segment. 3D printer, yeah. Yeah, I saw, like I said, I have been, the other cool thing about, and this is another thing, I mean, I had a good laugh this morning, and you guys said, have 3D printers will get this. But, you know, in the CNC router game, when you design something or you download it or you buy a thing, however you do it, you know, and you put a tool path on it and you go, oh my God, this is like 4 hours of carving on this thing, you know?
Yeah.
But then when you're 3D printing, it's different because it's like, oh wow, that only takes 4 hours. 3D printing stuff takes so much longer, you know, because it's adding stuff to make a part instead of subtracting like you do when you're routing something. So you're happy to get a 4 hour run on a 3D printer. I've got something back there right now. I've had it running since 9:45 this morning, and I can hear it. It hadn't stopped yet. It's still running. So, but yeah, it's. I saw. Oh, I know what I was going to say, Steve. I saw a guy on somewhere on YouTube, I think, and he had a 3D printer, and he had a business of making the different stuff for the guys that do the railroad train stuff. You know, like the different cattle cars and tankers and all that stuff. So he would 3D print, and I guess, you know, he said that was what he did. That was his business. So you find a little niche market, and yeah, I'm not really looking for anything like that. I'm just having fun with mine, and you know, I'll use them to make stuff that I want. If I start, you know, building these for myself, not for anybody else, but this was the perfect thing to do, because I figured, yeah, I don't know how to fly the thing, so you know, you crash and you break something, no big deal. I don't have to go buy parts and just run extra. In fact, I've already ran a bunch of extras of these. And well, actually all this, I have extras of everything. I actually have enough to make 2. Train model miniatures. Yeah, thank you, Ron. That's what I was trying to think of. And Ron had a good, when I went back and watched that old show that Ron was on back in June of last year, he showed some stuff. Was it for a train, or maybe it was for a train? I can't remember. But you did like the windows for, I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was like an old train station or something. I can't recall. But you did the windows for him, and he had, I mean, it even looked like it had rust on the roof and stuff. It was really cool. So Ron says there's 2 types of 3D printer uses. One that prints figurines, or ones that design useful things. Yeah, I found that to be very true. And like I said, I just can't see, like, you know, the guy, and I'm probably going to piss some people off, but if you're one of those guys that doesn't do anything but download cute little stuff from Thingiverse, you know, all you're doing is filling up the landfills. You know, yeah. Make something useful. You know, there's only, you know, we only need so many Darth Vader things or Yoda bust or all that kind of stuff. And I know I'll probably catch hell from the Star Wars folks, because some people love their Star Wars, but I've never even seen it.
What's wrong with you?
Well, I mean, like, you know, if it's ever been on TV or movie channels, I probably may have caught bits and pieces, but I've never I don't know. That kind of stuff just
so what you're saying is you saw the Christmas special in the 1970s.
Yeah, if it, like I said, if it was on TV and it was the only thing to watch, I might have seen parts of it. But other than that, I just, I'm more into real stuff, not the make believe. I'm not really a movie buff of any kind, really. Neil Shafto says, I will print drive belts for the Delta Construction table saw model of belt XL 100 by 100 drawings on the master car.
It's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. Those are those drive belts that they make that are expandable, and they're made with links. You can I'd love to try one of those. How strong would the well, maybe that's something we should be asking Ron. How strong is the plastic? Will it actually function well? Like those, which drive belts I'm talking about? The that replace the V belts, but they're links.
Yeah, in fact, you just buy them and it comes in a thing, and you kind of remove whatever you need to make it the right length. If you
make them yourself, they're even cheaper.
Yeah. I don't know.
Belts. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, link belts. Yep, that's it.
I wonder how that would work.
Steve Good says people are afraid of the modeling software. It's easier than it looks on the surface. The CNC crowd are more, I guess, more likely to use the complex software. Yeah, I think I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell you though, I mean, I had no formal training. Well, yeah, with CAD. I got a job and they said, well, do you know CAD? And I said, well, I know a little bit just from getting the software and self-taught. And this is back in the 2D days, guys. This is before the 3D stuff. So I had a guy, I was fortunate to work at a company that had an older guy that smart as a whip. And he, kind of took me under his wing and taught me different things about engineering and CAD and stuff like that. Good manufacturing practices is what he taught me, and I'll never forget it. But anyway, so I used that and got really good at drawing things in 2D because that's pretty much what everybody was doing back in the day. And then when I finally worked at a place and they said, hey, we're going to buy SolidWorks for the engineering department. I said, great, and then when you buy the SolidWorks, you get whatever train, like SolidWorks always starts out, the first class you take is like SolidWorks Essentials. And basically they just kind of give you an overview. And that's pretty much all I needed. I needed somebody just to point me in the right direction and give me a push, and I was gone. Because I already had all that other CAD background. And once I figured out the differences between 3D and 2D as far as drawing and modeling, I was off and running. Haven't stopped since. But
oh, that's interesting. Georgia Bubba says if you're a veteran, SolidWorks can be available for $20 for full program software. Good to know.
Yeah, that's if you're a veteran and you have to send.
Did you catch Neville's question up there? He's saying that milling and routing works better for ham radio parts antennas from Delrin, and he's asking if the GarageWorks is a good platform to do that with.
I missed that question.
It's just a little.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of parts you're talking about, but yeah, you could mill Delrin. I mill HTPE and stuff. I've done that for years with any CNC, really, not just the GarageWorks, but yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? That one got by me.
Don't see any at the moment.
Okay. Well, we're probably yeah, we're already after the hour
after
here.
9. Yep.
So yeah, sorry guys if I get rambling on about 3D printing stuff, but
it's all CNC.
let's see, what is this? The secret is, Dave, no one does know how to fly those. Oh, are you talking about the quadcopters? I don't know if that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, the Jerry, I've seen. I mean, I got a buddy of mine who races these things, and then I've got another buddy of mine who's an inspector and has 5 or 6 of the like $2,500 models that are, and depending on the software controlling the motors, some of them with the GPS, I mean, you don't have to do anything but just move it up, down, left, right, and it'll stay in one place solid, hovering by itself. And I played with a little one that we bought, well, that grandma bought the girls. And for, I don't know, I think it was like $50 or something. It's some pretty elaborate stuff. It was a cheesy little one, but it came with a little tiny low resolution camera, and you could fly it around, and it stayed pretty steady. It's not like the old days where we had to fly an RC copter, and it was that was a hassle.
Yeah, Josh T over there. I don't know if that's Josh Thompson, maybe. I don't know. Josh T says,
Gatton on aluminum. Yep.
Yeah, I've cut it. I cut some pieces, little triangle pieces for Mike Fulton. I didn't record a video, but Mike Fulton has the aluminum pieces if you want to see them.
Yep. Peter Pasuelo's also cut on aluminum. A few of the Gatton users have. I mean, it's like anything else. If you know your feeds and speeds, it'll cut like butter.
Yeah, you know, I get asked all the time, well, can you cut aluminum on this or that? You can cut aluminum with any CNC router. It's all about knowing how stiff the machine is and the feeds and speeds and depth of cut and all that kind of stuff. You can, you know, it might take you forever, but you can cut aluminum.
Yep.
So it's not as hard as what you might think. Yeah, that's a good point, Steve. Steve Good says using 3D printers and CNC routers and laser engravers together can produce incredible products. They all work together.
We were talking about that earlier today, Dave. I was Steve, I was asking Dave, I go, wouldn't it be so cool? But the problem is we got to think of something. Maybe some of you guys have some ideas. What would be a fantastic project that would combine a CNC router and a 3D printer that you can't do with just the one or the other?
Yeah, I just had a question, kind of scroll, or not a question, but well, I remember what it was. Ron Cleveland was asking me about my build plate on the Ender 3. As far as I can tell, it was much flatter than the piece of glass was that came on the RCT or the CR10. I you know, I don't want to say a whole lot about the Ender 3 because I've only had it, you know, what, a week or so. I want to get some more hours on it before I do a review. But I got to say, I'm loving that thing. It is, of course, now it was a lot more to put together because it wasn't, you know, the really super easy assembly like the CR10 was. But since I had already got the CR10 first, and even though it wasn't as complicated to put together, it helped somebody like me who had never, you know, really seen a 3D printer in person before, see how everything goes. So the Ender 3 went together pretty easy, other than I did have, I think I mentioned in my unboxing video that I had that little aluminum bracket that holds the stepper motor on. It was bent. I had to take it off and straighten it. But other than that, the assembly was easy enough for that. And the build plate is great. I don't know what that stuff is, that build tack type stuff they put on there, But man, does that stuff hold. That's the, I don't know about you, Ron, but I've actually started putting at least a brim, if not a raft, on a lot of the stuff, just because I busted trying to get it off. If I don't do that, if I put a little brim on it, then I can, you know, at least get that broke loose and be able to get it where it helps get that blade up underneath. But yeah, I'm loving my little Ender 3. So y'all be seeing a video coming out in the next week or two about a review on that. And anybody that's you know, like me and wanting to get into the 3D printing, that's an awesome deal. It's I think GearBest had it for just over $200, I think, for US, which is pretty cheap. Any other questions? Somebody said, Harry Vaughn says, just bought Ender 3. Not sure what some of that stuff's about. Must be private conversations. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Like I said, we really didn't have any big topic here. Still got 84 viewers, so Banggood has it for 180. Sweet. Yep. Yeah. If y'all want to help me out too, I have affiliate links for both Banggood and GearBest. You know, it doesn't cost you a nickel to use that link, but it's kind of like an Amazon affiliate link. Helps me out a little. Trying to read these things here. Yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead and get off here. Javi get his show. Y'all hang around, watch him. What are you talking about tonight, Javi?
Well, tonight I'm gonna talk about airfoils, creating a vortex generator, if you will. Personal project, because I'm going on a trip for a couple weeks, and as you know, because I spoke to you earlier, I just spent the day changing the tires and all that stuff on the RV, and I figure, well, that will save a little on gas mileage, having it properly inflated tires and all that, and lubed up bearings. But what I've read is will help considerable amount is those vortex generators, or if you will, on the back tail end of the my RV is a box, basically, and a tall box at that. So it'd be good to have something to shave off. Even 1 mile per gallon is a $25 savings for most trips. So, I mean, going from 10 to 11, that's 10% savings. That's considerable.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I guess we're going to wind this one down. I appreciate all you guys. If I haven't already told you, I appreciate all you tuning in every Saturday. You know, if you guys didn't come watch, I wouldn't even bother doing this. So thank you much. I appreciate y'all that watch my other videos too. I know a lot of y'all watch and comment on the other stuff as well. You'll be seeing, like I said, you'll be seeing a video next week or two, review for the Ender 3 3D printer, and you'll probably be seeing some more on the Go CNC. Hopefully they get me a spindle or something to play, because it's going to, once I get off, you know, like I said, I've already had it jogging around and running a program, and I'm really wanting to get something put in there to cut. If not, I'll have to get out my old RotoZip 3D print me a mount or something for it. So, but be having some more update videos and stuff on that as well. All right. Thanks, everybody. Javi, thanks again for tuning in with me and watching the chat and everything. Everybody take care, and I guess we'll see y'all next week. Good night, all.
At all.